the unemployment rate continues to drop. This Friday's jobs report showed the unemployment rate dipping to 5.8%. The country added 214,000 new jobs in October, making it the 9th straight month with more than 200,000 jobs added, the longest such streak since 1994. In fact, October was the 49th straight month of job gains. In the stock market, the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average hit record highs this week. Consumer confidence is its highest since October 2007. So how's the economy doing? Well, by these measures, it's somewhere between damn good and just fine, thank you. Not bad for a country that faced an existential economic crisis just a few short years ago. But before all you economic optimists start demanding a gold star from Professor MHP, let's see if there are any other answers to the question. Because here is actually the only place most people look when they are asked if the economy is good or bad. And from the perspective of American wallets, the story is not quite so rosy. Yes, there are more jobs, but wages remain stagnant. Over the past year, wages have only risen 2%, just slightly faster than inflation. The sectors with the lowest wages, like retail and hospitality, have had some of the biggest job growth over the past 4 years. The unemployment rate dropped in October, but only among white workers. The higher unemployment rates for African Americans at 10.9% and Latinos at 6.8% remained about the same. Polling. I don't know whether it is that Republicans just tend to read an economy under Democrats as being a less high-quality economy, and they were already going to vote for Republicans, right? Or whether or not, so in other words, sort of which way the causal arrow moves.
Yeah, so I think one of the ways actually to really read the exit polls that's very interesting is if you look at it by income. So one of the things about this economy over the last 6 years is most of the income growth, the vast majority, is accrued to the top 1%. Some people say it's about 95%. So it's a huge number because of all the gains in the stock market and real estate and whatnot. And so if you think about it that way, if the economic gains are going to the very wealthy, and if you look at the exit polls by income, so the 2/3 of the voters who had incomes of greater than $50,000 a year overwhelmingly voted Republican. The 1/3 of the electorate that had incomes below $50,000 a year overwhelmingly voted Democratic. And what does that tell you? Because that's not the median income. The $50,000 is about the median income in the United States. That means a lot of low-income voters didn't vote. Now, what that tells me is maybe those voters said, the economy isn't working for me. They didn't vote Republican. They stayed home.
This week, voters in 4 states, Alaska, Arkansas, Nebraska, and South Dakota, approved increases to their state's minimum wage laws. The new higher minimum wages will ultimately range from $8.50 to $9.75. And in Alaska and South Dakota include automatic increases that are tied to inflation. These are some beat red states. Alaska, the governor's race is still too close to call. But the choice is between the incumbent Republican and a former Republican running as an independent. I mean, still Alaska approved a wage increase with more than 2/3 of the vote. Arkansas elected Republican Tom Cotton to the Senate by a 17-point margin and at the same time voted to raise the minimum wage by a 30-point margin. Nebraska elected Republicans to the U.S. Senate and the governor's office in landslides and approved the wage increase by nearly 20 points. And South Dakota re-elected its Republican governor with more than 70% of the vote and voted to increase the minimum wage by a 10-point margin. So, Avik, let me let you in on this.
Yeah, so the Congressional Budget Office, when they did that report on the minimum wage last summer, which I think did a great job of summarizing the economic literature on this point, the main critique they made, they talked about the job numbers. They also talked about the fact that the minimum wage hike is poorly targeted. It doesn't actually directly affect low-income people who are in low-wage jobs. It affects people who are in low-wage jobs generally. That's why the earned income tax credit is better. It's more targeted towards low-income individuals who then will get more income through the earned income tax credit. But I think the thing that we lose focus on when we talk about just mandating higher wages is where are the jobs? How do we actually restore the manufacturing jobs and the blue-collar jobs that are going away in this country? And that's a tougher question, so it's easier to just say minimum wage, but that is the thing that's going to actually drive. So if you look at South Dakota, for example, where the energy boom is driving a lot of growth in blue-collar jobs, the average wage there is very high. It's $20 an hour, right? So the more we can do to generate those kinds of jobs, the more we're going to have wage growth.